you know, either younger than us or, you know, passed and retired. So why not? You know, I want to challenge myself. The best always looking to fight the best and challenge themselves, you know, and why not, you know, challenge.
Terence Crawford can't beat him, right? This is a money grab for Terence Crawford. It's just a situation where Terence Crawford is trying to fill up his bank account opposed to actually his leg.
But if you study Floyd closely, like I have, you will notice that he never wastes any steps while he's in the ring.
It was said during a live interview with Stephen A. Smith that Terence Crawford backs Floyd Mayweather's planned fight. Crawford said that his boxing strategy has always been to put himself in situations that make him feel bad and take on the hardest tasks that he can find. He stressed that great fighters shouldn't stay away from each other, saying that real brilliance is shown when the big names fight. Crawford spoke with calm confidence, seeing a possible fight with Mayweather as another chance to advance his career and defy the limits that were put on him.
This is Terence the businessman talking, right? They got to pay the cheddar to make it better, right?
For sure, for sure. All money ain't good money, so you gotta know that.
Okay, fair enough. I hate to use the word easy, but at times it did feel like you were, you know, having a really easy time out there. Were you expecting it to play out that way?
Listen, it's never easy, you know.
Stephen A. Smith has never been afraid to say what he thinks about sports in the media, and his view on boxing is no different. So when he easily praises Terence Crawford for winning world titles in for different weight classes, it means something and doesn't just seem like normal compliments. It is very rare for boxers to have that much success these days, especially since many fighters avoid moving classes because of the risks and uncertainty that come with it. Crawford is different from his competitors because he can put on weight and still beat opponents at every level. Stephen A. says that Crawford's range and power make him one of the best pound-for-pound fighters. It shows a lot more than just how flexible he is physically. It shows how well-honed his skills are, how smart he is in the ring, how stable his viewpoint is, and how much he wants to test himself against the hardest challenges possible.
Crawford is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this 4-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion 3 times over. 140 pounds, 147, now 168 pounds, claiming all the belts. You don't see people doing that very often. Going up against a guy who was perceived as being bigger and stronger, Crawford was strong. Crawford was strong enough to fend him off, strong enough to make him respect his own power. He used his jab, he used his distance. He had poise in the ring, he wasn't rattled. He backed up and moved when necessary and kept us different. He exchanged enough to gain respect when necessary. It was a brilliant, brilliant, masterful fight on Terence.
Roy Jones Jr., a real legend who knows more than most what it takes to do well in many weight classes, has said that Terence Crawford is smart in the ring. Jones talked about Crawford's performance against Canelo Alvarez and said that Crawford had the rare ability to draw motivation from Floyd Mayweather and Iris Londila, 2 fighters who fought Canelo in very different ways. Jones says that Crawford's skill is that he can look at his opponents, learn from past fights, and then use what he has learned when it matters the most. He says that Crawford's level of awareness makes him more than just an athlete and sets him apart as a real thought in the ring. Jones saw that Crawford didn't just copy those moves. He changed them to fit his own speed and instincts, which made them much more dangerous in real-life fights. Jones thinks that Crawford's adaptability sets him apart from fighters who stick to one technique and often fail when they face the toughest opponents.
Big fighters' whole career, people like Iris Londila gave you the blueprint on how to beat him. People like Floyd Mayweather also gave you the blueprint on how to beat him. But Bud is more fierce, more fearsome and more angrier and more meaner than both of those guys. So you know if they showed you the blueprint, Bud gonna go out there, take that blueprint and do even more with it, which is what Bud did. So it was never a question in my mind whether Bud really was going to outbox me, just if he could take the punch. And right away he showed, bam, he could take the punch. So I knew from that point, if we just slow him down, which he did, he'd be okay. Then late in the fight, what other people still didn't see, late in the fight, Bud started hitting Canelo's body. One of those body shots, I think about the 7th or 8th round, hurt Canelo. I was like, whoa. Bud hit him in the right spot then, and he got Canelo's respect with that too. So Bud fought a very, very awesome fight, fought a beautiful fight, very tactical.
Very controlled.
Yes, it was a beautiful fight for boxing.
It was a beautiful fight. You know, Bud got hit with some shots.
He did. He did.
He got hit with some single shots going out. You know, he's going out and you know Canelo, if he has you trapped in the corner or along the ropes, it's typically 1 to 2 big shots. You know that if you've watched him.
Yep.
So you could tell Crawford, as he was going out, he knew the one shot was coming, and several times it landed. He even got hit with a 2-piece. I don't remember what round it was, uppercut right hand that Crawford took well. So when you started seeing him absorb the shots, if you're Team Crawford, you don't want him to take that shot. But if you started seeing that, now you know that, okay. And I think that's what gave Crawford the green light to stay there a little bit longer.
He smiled about it.
He smiled about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that smile can be a lie. And sometimes that smile can mean what I think it meant for Crawford, which is, oh, that's not as bad as I thought it was.
The idea of Terence Crawford and Floyd Mayweather fighting each other, even if it's just for fun, has caused a lot of discussion in the boxing world. Some doubters think that this kind of contest will bring up questions about Crawford's long-term impact. From their point of view, getting into a fight for show may take away from the great achievements he has already made, like his dominant performance against Errol Spence and masterful performance against Canelo. They say the move could be seen as trying to get a big payment instead of continuing to work on tasks that will define their memory. This problem has been made worse by Mayweather's recent fights, which have been more like wealthy shows than standard career-defining fights. Many people have said that Crawford has given and worked too hard to risk being seen as someone who puts money before intelligence. However, there is another point of view. Crawford's fans think that he already has a permanent place in boxing history and that a fight with Mayweather would make an already amazing career even more exciting and memorable.
It's just a situation where Terence Crawford is trying to fill up his bank account opposed to actually his legacy. This is what was being said, right? This is what people perceived. Terence Crawford was just attempting to catch.
When you compare Floyd Mayweather and Terence Crawford's lives, it quickly turns into a deep and often controversial subject. On his record, Mayweather has beat some of the sport's most famous stars. Skeptics, on the other hand, often question how they won their arguments. They say that Canelo Alvarez was still developing when he teamed up with Floyd, and that Manny Pacquiao went into their highly awaited fight in 2015, even though he was having health problems. The fact that Mayweather often avoids rematches, especially a second fight with Pacquiao, has led to criticism and left many fans with open questions. Many times, Crawford's story is put in a different light. Most people thought his opponents were nearing the top of their careers when they played him, but he has had his best games against them. This difference has led to heated debate about whether Mayweather's perfect record is due to his sheer power in the ring or to smart timing and careful matchmaking.
Mayweather's still greater than Terence Crawford. We need to really talk about this now. A lot of you guys are putting Crawford a bit too high. If you want to say Crawford could beat Floyd, I'm more open to that conversation, but when you're lining up the careers, I'm going to say Floyd every time. While they're both 5 division, Bud has become 3-time undisputed, but he's only fought 10 world champions to Floyd's 25 world champions. You can't take away the 5 division, 3-time undisputed. In terms of accolades, yeah, he probably gets the nod over Floyd. I say their accolades are about relative, considering Floyd Mayweather won Fighter of the Decade as well. But when you get to the resumes, Pacquiao, Oscar, Canelo, Cotto, Mosley, Castillo, Marquez, Zab, Gotti, Hatton, and Corley. It's probably way more people that this guy just didn't name. And then when you get to Bud's resume, not saying it's just bad, but the only names that's really worth mentioning is going to be Spence and Canelo. It's not a knock on Bud. Bud was not able to make those fights early on in his career. But I got to tell you guys what it is. Bud's resume just doesn't line up with Floyd's. Take their top 20 wins. Bud don't even got 20 wins to really sit here and name. Floyd got a good 20 something plus. Bud probably got about 10 wins that we could really sit here and name. Floyd's still greater than Bud.
A famous boxing expert named Tony Jeff said that Floyd Mayweather's most dangerous trait was much more than just his quick hands and great defense. Jeff thought that Floyd's way of thinking was what really set him apart from everyone else. Mayweather was sure that his opponents could never outsmart or trick him. He was sure of himself every time he stepped into the ring. Floyd's belief in his greater ring intelligence always tipped the scales in his favor, even in fights that seemed close. He was the only one who could look at his opponents in real time, make quick changes, and keep his cool when things got tough. Mayweather didn't just rely on his physical skills. He also used his mental sharpness and technical skill to give the idea that he was always one step ahead. Jeff points out that Floyd's psychological control and flawless execution made him look like he could not be stopped, and in the end, he retired from the sport with a perfect record.
Strong mindset, they're really confident, they really believe in themselves, but you need more than that mindset. You need to have the full package of everything that I'm talking about, what Floyd has got.
Fighters should only want to get better. The more you win, the more you should work hard. If you think about losing, you're going to lose. All I ever thought about was winning. So that's all I know.
Floyd would visualize his success before he even stepped into the ring. There was no alternative to him but winning. And this mindset isn't just for boxing, it's for all walks of life. And I've actually done a full video talking about how I used this mindset of visualization to win my Olympic medal. And it was an absolute game changer. Now, Floyd used to use this mindset to ease the pressure that he put himself under. And he made himself think like, I'm not under any pressure right now, where he was under immense pressure.
Pressure either makes you or break you. Well, you see where I'm at, so it's obvious that I'm the type of athlete or I'm the type of entertainer that can deal with pressure. There's never no pressure.
Now, if you watch his fight in 2013 when he fought Canelo Alvarez, Canelo came in a young, strong, undefeated fighter, but by round 2, Floyd kind of had him figured out. He was reading Canelo's jab. He would slip outside and then come back with a clean counter punch, then move his feet and get out of the way. He basically had the full fight under control, and he was controlling the full rhythm of the fight. He was forcing Canelo to fight at his pace. And this is what he would do in all of his fights. He would get his opponent to do what he wanted them to do without their opponent even realizing it, which is what we call boxing IQ. Now, even though I'm not a fan of Floyd Mayweather personally, because of the time when I did meet him, what he said to me made me just feel like this guy is a piece.
Boxing fans were always on the lookout for interesting fights. David Benavidez is said to be going to fight Terence Crawford in one of the most awaited fights. Ben's would bring clear physical benefits, as well as a lot of strength and constant pressure, which would make the test risky and different. For many fans, this is the kind of move that will put Crawford in new situations and really test his skills. Even though there hasn't been an official proof, rumors and disagreements keep going around. The talk is mostly about what supporters want the most. Instead of money-driven exhibitions, have big fights that define your career. A fight between Crawford and Benavidez would show the difference between intelligence and passion. For boxing fans, this contrast alone makes the fight a dream come true.
Not me, but shocked the world. This past Saturday, Mexican Independence Day weekend, what he took on defeated another first ballot Hall of Famer, but he essentially jumped up 3 weight classes, technically 2, from 154 to 168, but only had 1 fight at 154 last August against Israel Majamov. Terence Crawford defeated Saul Canelo Alvarez, who is a 4-division champion, 2-time undisputed super middleweight, and the reigning, at the time, super middleweight world champion, undisputed world champion. And Terence Crawford beat him handily and convincingly. And because he beat him so easily, now the 63 win, 3 loss, 2 draw, 39 win by way of knockout, biggest threat has been now imposed on Terence Bud Crawford. And that's the Mexican Ecuadorian monster, David Benavidez, who is a 2-division undefeated world champion, is the 2-time WBC super middleweight and reigning WBC light heavyweight, 175-pound champion, who has a record of 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 24 wins by way of knockout. He stands 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach. This is a fight that David Benavidez has been calling for Canelo Alvarez when he was at 168, and Canelo Alvarez strategically maneuvered around him. But Canelo Alvarez is 5'7", with a 70-inch arm reach, started his career at 147 pounds, made his real name at 154 pounds. He's not a big guy, okay? and styles make fights. Benavidez is 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach. His last fight at 168 against Demetrius Andre, he rehydrated to 193. So he's a big guy. Canelo Alvarez probably rehydrate to 182, maybe 185 max, right? He's not a big guy, right?
Floyd Mayweather and Terence Crawford usually have unfinished business when they meet in person. During his lifetime, each man fought great opponents and consistently emerged as the winner. Mayweather's perfect record and unmatched defense skills made him famous during his time. Even though Crawford has done well in rising divisions and continues to beat top challengers, it is hard to decide who is right because their dates, opponents, and situations are so different. Because of this difference, it's possible that a direct comparison will never be fair or full. Lastly, it's not fair to pick one fighter over the other. Instead, it's more accurate to say that both are the best boxers ever.
My goodness, I said that was gonna happen. If Crawford was to win, we're gonna be seeing a lot of these debates on whether or not Floyd Mayweather or Terence Crawford is gonna be better. Now this is gonna be a debate for a long time. I'm talking about one of those debates like LeBron versus MJ, Messi versus Ronaldo. It's one of those. And the thing is, I can get behind it. Let me go ahead and say this. When it comes to resume, I do think we give Floyd Mayweather the edge. I mean, he beat a bunch of champions. He reigned for a long time. While Crawford, his resume is heavily criticized, and he's just not getting, his kind of respect for beating Errol Spence and Canelo Alvarez. But if we're talking strictly off of skills, this is where things get really tough to talk about. I think a fair assessment of this matchup would be Floyd Mayweather wins from 135 and 140, while Crawford wins from 147 to 154. And I say that because I feel like Floyd's style changed once he got to welterweight. He became a more defensive fighter, and he just wasn't as much focused on offense. And knowing this, I feel like Crawford would have had a much better chance of handling him. And we all know, Crawford was an absolute monster at welterweight. But hey man, like I said, this is gonna be a debate for a very long time. I can't wait to hear all the talk about it, but I'm curious on your thoughts. Who you think wins in the fight, Floyd or Terence Crawford? Let's talk about it. And follow me for more boxing talk.
What Greg Hackett said after Crawford beat Canelo shows how important the situation really is. Hackett makes a point of showing how strong and scary Canelo has been for more than 10 years by calling him the top force in boxing. That fame made the result even better. Crawford didn't just walk into the ring with him. Crawford took charge and beat his opponent, which showed a big change in the balance of power. Hackett said that Crawford's success made him the new biggest threat in the sport. Now, everyone else needs to get ready and be scared of the fighter, the person at the top of the sports world right now. This victory wasn't just one more win in a long line of them. It changed the sports order, making Crawford look like the man who got rid of the longtime king and became the hunter in his place.
Remember, Canelo is the guy right now in the sport that's supposed to be the man, big bad wolf. You beat him, you the wolf. Now it's like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, well, so I'm gonna fight. You beat the shark, you beat the wolf. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Ain't no more ops out there. It's ops out there, but who gonna make them really want to get up? That's the
shit gotta make sense. Like you said, you beat a shark, and then you beat a wolf. Yeah. But there's the monster.
Yeah, there is, but that's like a real monster.
Bro, to me it don't make sense. But that's
really
what
a monster.
Yo, is that proof? All right, we got the legendary Pape in the building. Legend.
Sure, man.
But what makes sense? Like, what makes the most sense? I know you said get a line of suits, Brooks Brothers.
Yeah, you know line of suits. Your line of suits, get your money, man. Yeah, go away and get the easy money, man. You ain't gotta sweat no more.
What's up, boy?
Not saying you ain't gotta work, you ain't gotta sweat.
What's happening?
He's paved a career where he could sit down at a table and get this money. He could come out with a Terence Crawford series now, just doing whatever he like to do. People gonna watch it. Nobody, the fighting part, people don't understand what it's like to be a fighter. A lot of times fighters really don't be interested in certain fights. It's cause when a guy see himself up here and then is fighting a guy down here, it don't interest him. So therefore, when he train, he not gonna really train. He gonna train, but he not gonna train. He not gonna listen. He gonna feel like his coach taking it too serious, and he's like, man, we ain't.
The fight between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez was a turning point in his career. It ended any doubts about how great he was. Even before that, his crushing win over Errol Spence put many doubters to rest who were wondering how good his opponents were. From the beginning to the end, Crawford controlled the Spence fight, leaving no room for doubt. But it was Crawford's total destruction of Canelo, a boxer who had long been thought to be almost impossible to beat, that made him famous. Today, all boxing experts say that these wins solidify his place as one of the all-time greats. Being able to beat top-level winners in a lot of different weight classes shows how skilled, flexible, and dominant he is in the sport.
Action, and I think Crawford displayed his skill enough, even to someone with not the most trained eye, that they know they saw a very high-level athlete perform something at a very high level last night. I think he gained the sports world's attention last night and respect. He already did after Spence, but it went to another level in this fight.
And I think even the fight itself, like just from a median level, but then the moments where they were having these exchanges, like kind of late in the fight, then people were like, all right, it was good. Then like, okay, I saw somebody like, they're squabbing, like this is a fight here. So I think it did.
And Crawford closed the show.
Yeah.
In 10, 11, 12, he stood in there and landed some hard shots and rocked Canelo at the bell. He didn't. James was talking about the great Floyd Mayweather. Floyd would go up on you 8-0 and then coast, and you might as well turn the fight off at midway through the ninth. Like, you know, he's not gonna. But Crawford.
That's the end of today's movie. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you in the next movie.